Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Also, please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 71. Bill is not with us this evening. I do and don't apologize for that. He is on his rescheduled vacation from January, so he will be joining us the next time around, hopefully. But on that note, James, how was your week?
Oh, it was a normal week at the post office, going through the motions and getting information and studying things like I normally do. Volumes were normal for my route most of the week and did have some heavy parts, some light parts, just like normal. But then got to the weekend and crashed out for Saturday, then woke up and started monitoring the storms going through. And right now, I want to just take a moment and say our thoughts and prayers are with everybody that has been affected by the severe weather through this weekend and starting this week out, because it's going to keep going tomorrow too, on Monday. So hopefully everybody has a plan in place in case something bad happens there. And other than that, and then today I had to go and pick up my new suit that I had to buy. Got a great suit shop, gives quality suits and for very reasonable prices, especially on table to pay. And had got that already hemmed up, and I'm ready for mid states this coming weekend. How about you, Josh?
I did not buy a new suit this week. I do have to have my current suit hemmed though still. But beside that, my week was pretty good, with the exception of I put in for national again now that we have a new person handling the leave requests for the office as a whole, not just my station. And on the third business day, I got it denied with I can't even read it. I took a picture and sent it to the ADR and said, "What does this say?" And he said, "I was about to ask you that." So he was trying to reach out to the person that handles the leave request to find out what it said, so he can let me know. Hopefully I'll hear something from him tomorrow on that. Kristen?
Yes. My week was Monday sucked. Monday was like a flashback to Christmas in my office. It was horrible. One of my RCAs about had a meltdown on the route that he covered one day. And I had to give him, quote unquote, a mom hug out on the dock and kind of bring him back in because I was worried he was just going to walk off. And we got him back down and deep breath. And he did as Josh says to, you get overwhelmed, take a step back, and we got him through the day. I did help him to get situated to get out of the office. But yeah, Monday was a day from it was a day from hell, all around. Tuesday, yeah, a little heavier than what it's been. Actually, our whole week has been a little heavier than what it's been lately, but other than that, really not all that bad. And yeah, other than that, I'm just preparing for mid states coming up here next weekend. Not a whole lot else going on, really.
If you're coming to mid states, you can at least meet several of us podcasters there. We'll be around. You'll probably see us step on stage to do our speeches that we have to do during the candidate announcement portion of mid states. But you can catch us at the meetings and events and break times. Feel free to approach us, talk with us. We will be available to answer any questions you have or take any comments you have.
We will have a table The three of us that'll be there will be sharing the table. I will have some of Bill's Carrier First t-shirts available for anybody that wants some of those. And we can all thank my lovely daughter Ruby will be manning that table for us when we're not at it. So yeah, we got that all situated out. So yeah, looking forward to it. I probably won't bring much of anything podcast material wise, just because I mean, if you ask, I'll probably have some stickers that I printed out in the past and a few of the keychains that we had left over from National. But you're gonna have to ask to get those. Just saying, they're not gonna be out
I'm
on
bring
the table.
I'm bringing the bag with me that you gave me for swag. So
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and whatever else, I'm gonna print some more stuff up and if we need it. So, but yeah, that's coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. I always love a good mid-states conference.
me too. I love a good informational conference like this, especially for people who haven't been to them. I know I'm going to get most of the same information I got at SWAC for this one, but that's okay. Can also use that to verify they're saying the same things at all these conferences too. Make sure that things aren't changing too much and things like that. So, speaking of things changing, our wonderful leadership put out another YouTube video update of things that they're doing. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it is actually available through their social media channel, whether you're dues paying or non-dues paying. You can actually see it on their Facebook page. Unfortunately, you can't comment on their Facebook page, which really lowers their reach with the posts that they do, but I'm sure they don't want to hear from us all the comments that are going on. But I really wanted to talk with you guys about a breakdown of what was actually said by President Don Mastin in that video. So the very first thing that I caught in that video of what he was saying was, "Hello, my fellow sister and brother rural letter carriers." Sister and brother, fellow rural carriers. Shouldn't sisters and brothers been plural?
If he had said sister and brethren, I could allow it.
I think that was a last minute addition, in my opinion, and
Could be.
why it wasn't grammatically correct in the statement. He needed to add the S on the ends to both of those. But we talk about how everybody here on the podcast and everybody listening is our fellow brothers and sisters of the craft. So I just thought that that's the first thing that popped into my mind when I heard that was, so you're trying to now bring everybody together after telling everybody you've had it too good for too long? Then he goes on to say, since becoming president, one of my goals has been to address the severe hardships of thousands of rural letter carriers with overburdened routes. This was caused in part due to no mail counts for an extended period. You don't say. You were in office. You were leading this craft. You were working at the time before Rex actually was implemented with, at the time, President Ronnie Stutz to help the craft, supposedly. You let all these routes carry Amazon for years and years with no evaluation. Oh, it'll get done in Rex. It'll get done in Rex as we kick the can down the road. What do you think, Kristen?
I literally just watched it and am still kind of trying to absorb it, but honestly, it was basically telling us, yep, adjustments are coming, and that's about it. I didn't really pay full into watching body language or words. It was just a very unheartfelt message of, hey, some of you guys may see some relief, but there's really no set way into seeing it. I mean, if they could pinpoint these routes that are truly overburdened, your
Mhm.
60 plus hours a week routes, and do help them first. But there really is no rhyme or reason. I mean, I personally have a friend that recently went to an SNDC. 4 hours was added off the bat to their route due to the move and having those deadhead miles back and forth to the route. Well, in this last mini mill survey, that bumped them up to a 48. Now, if you were to deduct those 4 hours a week in deadheads, that's only a 44. This route is technically not overburdened. This carrier is done on an average by 2:30 every day. That one should not be on one of the first lists, yet it is.
Yep.
That's
And
my whole issue with this system right now is they're not targeting the routes that actually need the relief in the first phase of cuts.
yeah. And then he goes on to say it's also due to the employer not having a plan in place to adjust routes once Rex was in place. So you knew the system wasn't there. You knew Rex wasn't ready. You knew the route cut system wasn't ready, but you couldn't help the craft at all through this whole period. What were you working on that was so more important than helping this craft with the issues of undervalued or overburdened routes? He says your leadership understands that many of you have been carrying overburdened routes for many months and in some cases for years. Again, stating the obvious. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Then he goes and says, we have long pushed the Postal Service to have a plan to adjust routes in place as it implemented Rex, but Postal Management was unable to do so. So then why did you push for Rex to be implemented before everything was ready? Logic. Now, and then he goes on to talk about the leadership did our due diligence. We negotiated improvements to the adjustment system. And now after a concerted effort on behalf of your NRLCA board, route adjustments are becoming a reality once again. Route adjustments should have been a reality when Rex was implemented. Routes should have been evaluated before Rex was implemented. But as you said before, rural carriers have had it too good for too long. So now we're feeling that punishment of you thinking that we've had it too good for too long.
Well, talking with
Go
a
ahead.
friend of mine who's on the dark side, he says he strongly felt that they should have done one last count with the old standards to get a baseline before they implemented Rex. And then take that data, and I think at that point they should have done any cuts that needed to be done. But that's just me.
I think they should have taken the last 2 mini mail surveys and done a standard count alongside those mini mail surveys. And whichever one was higher was what the route got evaluated at. That is my personal opinion. But I'm on the side of the carrier here, not on the side of management. The total phase 1 adjustment list identifies over 5,600 overburdened routes, with nearly 4,900 of those evaluated at K48. So that's 5% of routes, approximately. And somebody can check my math on that. But we have a little over 100,000 rural carriers. So I'm just doing the math here on that. Somebody else can correct me if I'm incorrect. That's okay.
What was the number?
5,600 routes. And 4,900 of those are K48. So I'm guessing that the other 700 routes are K47s. And then he turns around and says, we have hundreds of routes evaluated over 60, 70, and 80 standard hours, with many even higher. Yeah, because we haven't had route counts prior to Rex. We had Amazon added in prior to Rex, right after the last mini mail or the last mail count that we ever had. So yeah, there's going to be routes that are almost double routes out there.
Well, and then there's in the case of like in my office, the one route was already an overburdened route. And there was a brand new subdivision. They had to put it somewhere. So they put it on that route, like I said, which was already way overburdened.
Yep.
So now that carrier is getting double, triple growth.
Yep. And he says, please rest assured that we are pushing for this process to move as comprehensively, as quickly, and as accurately as possible. So I'm guessing as quickly and comprehensively as possible, they mean like the implementation of Rex. You got to remember the old adage. You can have things done quickly, but it won't be neat and clean. You can have things done comprehensively, but it won't be quick. You can have things accurate, but it won't be quick. Or you can be comprehensively accurate and it'll take forever. But you can't be comprehensive, accurate, and quick, because that just invites errors. And then he throws out, also well aware of the impact the decline of mail volume has had on many routes. The impact of decline of mail volume should have been offset with adding Amazon and all this stuff. The fact that routes are going down instead of staying the same as package volumes increase and mail volume decreases tells me that there's a problem in the math that you're doing to protect rural carrier salaries. He says, I, along with your national officers, realize it took way too long for the Postal Service to establish a new route adjustment process, and we recognize the toll is taken on both regular carriers and leave replacements as well. Again, Captain Obvious. You've been hearing that for years from carriers. You've been hearing it since after the last mail count when Amazon was added. You've been hearing the toll that's been taken on RCAs working 7 days a week carrying Amazon. But we're not talking about that here. He says, there is no doubt that the Postal Service's inability to address these issues is part of the reason we are seeing historic turnover in our craft. I'll say that's about 5% of the reason we're having turnover in this craft. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think most of it has to do with the working conditions and the fact that management wants to treat everybody like crap.
Work conditions, benefits, and wages. Those are the three things that affect carrier morale. The three things that are most important to people are the wages they make, the working conditions they have to deal with, and the benefits the employer gives them and lets them use. It's kind of hard to use a benefit when they're constantly denying you annual leave, especially for union events. He then goes on, we are confident that our due diligence has resulted with a tool that when used properly and accurately and fairly, let me rephrase, I said that wrong. We are confident that our due diligence has resulted with a tool that when used properly will accurately and fairly adjust routes. I don't want to be blamed at misquoting what he said on the video, so I wanted to rephrase that in the correct words that he used. So you said it exactly, used properly. When have you ever known management to use tools properly? They don't even use the rural craft properly in many offices. So how are they going to use this tool properly? Now, he goes on, we are also committed to addressing the massive turnover issues through contract negotiations. Your bargaining team is making contract proposals to address chronic turnover and understaffing issues that have negatively impacted carriers who are being overscheduled, forced to work beyond allotted hours, and denied requested time off. something I just said earlier. One of the things that he did say is he's pushing for more formula offices, more PTFs. And yes, PTF is a benefit to relief carriers, but formula offices aren't. Formula offices are not a benefit to regular carriers. Now, some can say, oh, yeah, you get a weekday off, blah, blah, blah. But having those 2 days off in a row, especially in a job as stressful as this one is for a lot of carriers, especially with hostile management, is a benefit to a lot of regular carriers. You know, it's amazing to me to think that you can't institute PTFs on a Saturday, Monday rotation for regular carriers and then have them covered during the week when people are off. Wouldn't be that hard to implement that, would it? Especially if you're hiring into career positions as a PTF for the rural craft with a Saturday and Monday work days part-time. I don't know about you, but I would take that as a relief carrier, guaranteed Saturdays and Mondays working, rest of the week maybe work. I'd take it. And it says, please look for additional contract administration and contract bargaining updates on NRLCA's media platforms. Well, we would if you guys actually allowed commenting more than just reactions, because then it would spread it to a lot more rural carriers. A lot more people would see it. A lot more people would view it. And a lot more people would be educated in the craft. What do you guys think of that? The breakdown and the video itself?
Again, it was a video that, yes, there was vague information. I mean, it was something, but it didn't really give us a whole lot of, hey guys, we're working our tails off. This is what's coming. There was really no heart or passion behind it. That's just my take.
I keep telling you, I try not to think. It's painful.
Sometimes it is, I agree.
Yeah. You want to, when you do videos, especially those kinds, you want to instill a passion into the craft as a leader. You want to get people motivated and standing up for themselves and wanting to fight for this craft and fight for the people. You can't sit there and be humdrum. Oh, we got this going on and we got this going on, and we're going to just drone on and on about it and not really feel passionate about it. So we're the passion. We'll give you the passion, the strength to fight for it. Even without Bill here, there is still enough more passion in this room than you'll ever see from your leadership, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
I have to agree. It's
it's
yeah,
sad.
it is. I really can't say, speak much of the fact that it's just there's just really no passion. It's fairly monotone, and which really just kind of takes people away from actually wanting to listen and see if there was actually anything of importance being said.
Exactly.
I
Speaking,
was just I was just gonna say, yeah, it detracts from the message because it's hard to follow the message.
Yes.
well, Bueller in our comments there. Bueller. But no, it's hard also for them. I will give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt here. If they're actually working their tails off for the craft to then turn around and make a video like that, that probably took 6 or 7 takes to get it right, because I'm sure he misread things. I'm sure he said the wrong words, or he got flustered over it and swore, so they had to start all over. Because I've done that myself and just recording the intro for this podcast. but there's still, you, even with all of that, I come on here, whether I have a busy day or a slow day, I come on here and have the same passion for this craft no matter what, because I know how much the connection to my brothers and sisters of the craft means.
Exactly. No matter what we have going on in our personal lives or how bad our workday was, even when we do our midweeks, grant you not, it's usually a Tuesday or Wednesday, which are typically lighter, but that's not always the case for everybody. And, we still make the time, we still put in the effort, we still have that passion come across to be able to connect to everybody in the craft, or at least everybody that listens to us, anyways. But yeah,
And even,
and trying to reach out to the entire craft. I mean, that's what, we do. That's always been our main focus. And even before we were on here, I know for me, I always was trying to help or mentor people in my office or neighboring offices or, friends from other offices when I did connect with them at conferences and conventions. We were always putting our passion and our heart on our, wear our heart on the sleeves when it comes to the craft. Always.
I was talking to a carrier this week, and I feel so bad for them. They have so many issues in their office when it comes to recs and the stuff that needs to be corrected. And their ADR, who is the steward for their office, is not responding to them or is brushing it off and listening to management over the carrier. Even though the carrier has the documentation that it hasn't happened, has the paperwork to prove that it hasn't happened, it pisses me off. I am so frustrated that this ADR would choose management over the craft and listens to management when the carrier has a problem and then tells management who the carrier is, so management turns around and retaliates against the carrier. That is not right. If you are an ADR, a DR, an area steward, a local steward, if you're the regional rep in the national steward systems, if you're the NRO, if you're the director of steward operations, director of labor relations, the president, I don't care. Your focus should be on the craft and taking care of your carriers. It doesn't matter if it's a grievance or a gripe. You help them solve their problem because they are the ones paying dues. They are the ones who are paying your paycheck, except local stewards. So take care of the people who pay your paycheck. Take care of the craft. The craft is the only thing that should matter to you.
And even when it comes to even if it's just a gripe, I know I have fielded several phone calls with carriers that I consider friends, or maybe somebody I don't talk to but just says, hey, can you call me, or can I call you? And they're not necessarily looking of what can I do, what do I have to do. They're literally just want somebody to vent to, somebody that understands what they're dealing with on a daily basis, somebody that they are comfortable talking to, and can just vent and have somebody to let it out. Even if they are fighting that good fight, even if they're a local steward in their office and they're having issues with their own ADRs or DRs, or, plus, other craft members within their office, and they just need somebody to listen to them. And, I have done that many, many times, to just be that person to listen, to know that at least somebody was listening to them, that they were heard in some capacity. Whether it doesn't matter if it's going to fix their situation, it's at least a medium for them to get it off their shoulders and be able to breathe again, because they were able to get it out to somebody who may actually understand what they're dealing with, or
Yeah,
can
you
relate
didn't
to what they're dealing with.
You didn't have to call me out and throw me under the bus like that, Kristen. She'll tell you, there's been many a times on my way home from work, I'm like, let me tell you about this one.
You're not the only one, Josh. You're not the only
I
one.
know. I know.
You are not. I mean, Bill calls me too, and and
I
but I do
know.
have I have other carriers from other parts of the country that I've spent hours on the phone with just listening to them, and sometimes that's really what the craft members want, is to know that they're being heard, to know that somebody is listening, and we are
Exactly.
listening.
Just that, wow. How could they? That's all they really need is that. I can't even imagine how they can do that. Just someone else to say it.
Yes, or that, oh
Exactly.
my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Are you serious? This is a load of horse manure. Just to agree with them that, okay, I'm not as crazy as I thought I was, because they're not feeling as crazy as they thought they were, because we have to agree with them. It's a load of horse manure, it's, yes, to know that people are being heard. And I think that's what the craft needs, is to know that people are listening to them, even if it's just a gripe or a vent, and know that they are being heard by somebody.
I can tell you that for me, anybody in the craft can reach out to me. I've had not only local people, regular carriers, relief carriers, I've had an ADR reach out to me and just ask a question. I'm not going to name who it was or anything like that to protect them from any malicious intent from others. I've talked to DRs. I'll talk to national people if they need somebody to talk to. You are a member of this craft. You are a brother or sister to me. You may not like me, I may not like you, but when you need help, I will be there for you. It doesn't matter. And I actually had a city carrier steward reach out to me to ask how they can help their rural brother and sisters in their office, because they were having issues and they wanted to know on the rural side what the rural carriers could do to protect themselves, because they didn't have representation in their office. I spent an hour and a half talking to that city letter carrier that's a steward, just to help them out. And that's what it's about. And like we talked about on the bonus episode, us city carriers and rural carriers need to work together, because our common issue is management. I won't call them a total enemy like some people will, but our issues are with management. If management followed the contract, followed the postal manuals, and did everything as close to the letter as possible, this craft wouldn't have as many issues as it did.
You'd still have some mighty unhappy people out there just because they got somebody that follows the book. But you know what? At times, there's nothing wrong with following the book.
Yeah.
And that's the importance of educating yourself as a carrier. I know, it's got to be done in your own time, and I get that, but we do that all the time, and I've said it before, I don't post as much on social media as I used to in a lot of the groups. I really don't. And a lot of times I'll just scroll through and I'll read somebody's problem and be like, never come across it. And I'll just go look it up for my own benefit and be like, okay. But, I'm always educating myself in one way or another. I'm always researching something. I'm always, or reaching out to another carrier or any one of these guys, or, and brainstorming and throwing stuff at each other on what ifs. What if we did this? What if we could attain this? Or how should we approach this idea that we have? Or what would how would we what would be the best way to convince them to pass this type of resolution? Or, something like that. I mean, we are always pinging the stuff off to try and move this craft forward and be progressive and to bring this craft forward into the future. Because right now we don't know what the future holds, and it's scary. But, we need people who are working now, the day ins and day outs, and experiencing what we experience on a daily basis, to be those ones that are active to move this craft forward into the future.
And, like
Yeah.
you said, bouncing the ideas back and forth off each other. And it's not necessarily sometimes the ideas, or like you said, with, ideas for resolutions. It's what wording is going to be the best wording. And 2, 3, 4, 5 heads are going to, we come together and we figure out what the best way to word it is to get the delegates to want to vote for it.
Quincy just said it best. During sports season growing up, honorable opposition, even if they're not, we must be.
Absolutely.
And I put this to my postmaster when I was the local steward in the office before being decertified. I said, I'm your underling until you make me put the union hat on. When I put the union hat on, we're adversaries, and I'm going to bring everything to the table I can. And to this day, we've agreed on almost everything I've brought to the table. Even after I've been decertified, she still looks to me for answers on union questions. Instead of contacting our ADR or our DR, she asked me first. And that's the biggest thing is if you have your opponent who respects you and respects what you know, they'll turn around and agree with you when you put the facts right in front of them. When an opponent does not respect you, they won't listen to a word you say. And they'll sit there and they'll tell you, we've already made our decision, and that's what we're sticking with, even if you put facts right in front of them. This craft as a whole is on a precipice. This next contract that they negotiate is going to be the make or break of the rural craft.
Now, I don't know big words.
You want me to pull the definition of precipice up for you, Josh?
No, you do.
The definitions of precipice: a very steep cliff, type of cliff, drop off, a steep high face of rock, or the brink of a dangerous or potentially disastrous situation. I think we are of the latter of those two. The brink of a dangerous or potentially disastrous situation. And it's been heading that way now for quite a while.
Yes, it has.
It's been heading that way since we had the 2-table pay system come in. And even if we were to remove the 2-table system, the biggest issues that we have facing us right now is the consolidation of routes into a centralized location. We have pay that is not composite to the rest of the labor markets that we compare our pay scales to, which is a violation of federal law. And we also have the issue of the benefits afforded to the rural craft that are underutilized, underperforming, and not comparative to the rest of society. Yes, we get 11 days paid days off as regular carriers with the holidays, but there's more to that than that. We have families, we have lives. We aren't treated as human beings in these offices. And unless we can address the systemic and prolific hostile work environments in these offices, on top of the lack of hiring ability of the Postal Service, plus the pay scale systems, there's a lot of things in that contract that our current leadership is actually looking to remove for the benefit of the Postal Service. And those protections are very important to keeping us the rural craft. They remove those, we become city carriers. And I'm not saying that we'll have to get uniforms yet or anything like that. But this MOU they've been pushing to cover routes, and I could understand it during COVID when you had offices that over half the carriers were out sick with COVID on. But now you've gotten to the point where you've given management an out to hiring. Not only do you have the out of hiring with the MOU, you also have it with the PTS. So you're limiting the amount of dues paying members the craft could bring in at 1/3 of the dues paying rate to bring in PTFs who pay the same dues as regular carriers, and forcing regular carriers to take non-Saturday relief days. From what I've heard in some offices, they don't even allow them to have Mondays, which they should be grieving in the first place. But you're also cutting your nose off to spite your face.
Now, I want to add, now, if that MOU that has been renewed and reintroduced and renewed and renewed and reintroduced and blah, blah, blah. Now, if, from my understanding, it would still be left voluntary if it does make it into contract language. But as we all know, management will see it as, well, it's in your new contract. So now we went from volunteer to voluntold.
And then they'll just turn around and say, well, I'm telling you to do it as a direct order. If you don't, that'll be failure to follow a direct order. And then you can grieve it afterwards. And as we've seen with the current grievance policy, after step 1, which in that instance, management would choose not to agree to anything at step 1 to send it to step 2, it could take up to a year for it to be resolved at step 2 in some instances. I've got a grievance that's been sitting at step 2 for over a year that I still haven't heard a response on. And then if it fails at step 2 after that year, it could take up to 2 years at step 3 and up to, what are we at, 6 years on one of those step 4s, maybe 7 now?
My issue is if it's a direct order that blatantly disregards the contract, goes against the contract, breaks the contract, however you want to word it, I'm not for the whole follow the direct order then grieve, because then what is your remedy? How are you made whole now that you were told direct order to do something that is against the contract? You've already done it. Now, how are they going to make you whole for doing it? For
Exactly.
management's blatant disregard.
And
What are
management.
Well,
Go ahead, Josh.
and then there was a case, for example, not this go around with the MOU, but the last one. Supervisor came up and asked if I could help because they had so many routes in the other zone. I'm like, I can't. She says, but you're on the overtime list. I'm like, no, I'm on the relief day work list. And she like kind of huffed and walked off. So I could see where carriers could kind of get bullied that way. Well, you're on the list. You need to help.
And speaking of relief day work list, that was supposed to have come down this past Friday. And will go into effect, is it the next pay period?
I believe so.
Which would be May 4th.
Yes.
May the 4th be with you.
Exactly.
You.
I personally did not sign the relief day work list. I then got a text message from my supervisor yesterday asking me about a couple Saturdays in the future if I'd be willing to work. They did not interfere with anything else I had going on. So yes, because I can then use those X days at a different time. Because I'm all about doing that because of I know it was a particular carrier looking for the weekends off. Uh, but yes, I did have this message that just came through to me, and I want to touch on this real quick why it's still fresh before we wrap things up for tonight. This one came to me 7 minutes ago. It was told on Saturday that after end of shift duties, I should switch over to PM casing and read hazmat booklet and a few other service talks. Why are these not considered end of shift duties? Those should be end of shift duties.
Yes.
Yes, if management is making you work and studying manuals is work, you are to be on the clock. And end of shift duties is on the clock. PM casing is technically on the clock because it does go against your 2080 and 2240 hours, but it is not credited to your route. So the only other two ways that you can be paid for that is if they record it as stand-up time, where you are sitting with management and they are going over it with you, or they pay you 8127 time as a regular or green card time as a relief carrier.
Yes. And I can totally see if you were not present the day that they gave those service talks, that yes, and they said, here's the service talks you missed, if you could just read them over rather than I can understand that to a point. However, you should be compensated towards your route one way or another, or paid the 8127 time as a regular carrier or green card time as an RCA for doing it. Not just to flip over to PM casing and not being compensated towards your route for it at all.
Exactly.
No. We don't work off the clock.
Well,
Plain and
I
simple.
would say I could see, and let me finish before you rebut. I could see them saying, go to PM casing, read these, let me know how long it is, and then put that in as service talk time. But the caveat to that is the understanding I have is when they go into RMSS to put in service talk time, it's across, they put in one time, one place, and it credits everybody. Now, I could be wrong with that. I haven't actually seen how it gets entered, but I think it's just one spot for the day, and all routes get credited that.
Yeah, but doing it under PM casing should be a no-no. If they're requiring you to do it, then yeah, definitely after you come back from your route, it should be end of shift duties. Plain and simple. Definitely reach out to your assigned rep for guidance on that issue.
Yeah, we always want you to reach out to your designated union representative. And it doesn't matter if you're dues paying or non-dues paying, you can still find out who your designated union representative is on the NRLCA website. It is required by law to be open to find out who your union rep is on the union website. And that's under departments, steward operations, find your representative. And I would enter all the zip codes in your office to see if you have a local representative, because sometimes they only put them in under one zip code in the office. And if they have multiple zip codes, that steward does cover all the zip codes in that office, even though they don't put it on the website. So check them all before you contact the person listed, just in case you have a local that you didn't even know about.
All right, guys, anything else we want to touch on, or we can go ahead and wind this down and make it a quick episode tonight?
Let's make it a quick episode tonight. I know we
Yeah, we
this
haven't had a
week
short one in a while.
Yeah, we have to get ready this week anyways for mid-state, so.
Yes, we do. My red hair is back, everybody. So if you haven't seen me in a while, I got rid of the gray. I had to get rid of the gray. It was just couldn't do it
Woohoo.
anymore. And yeah, so I know James, myself, Toasty. I'm picking him up from the airport Thursday afternoon. We'll be at Mid-State. Bill, unfortunately, will not be joining us since he is.
He will be there in spirit.
Yes, he definitely will. I will have Bill's t-shirts available at the table So if anybody wants to grab one of those while they can, before National Convention, we will have those. And yeah, just I'm just gonna put it, the podcast stickers and the few keychains I have left over from National will be on the down low. Like I said, just ask. My daughter is well aware of that. I've already told her. She'll have a little box of, or whatever, pouch or something for those. So if we're not at the table and you want one of the stickers that I printed out or one of the keychains that a friend of mine had made us at National, just ask her and she'll be more than happy to get that out for us.
And don't forget the shameless plug. We do have our merch store available where you can actually get shirts for the candidates as well as other podcast memorabilia. So make sure you head on over there. It's linked on the Facebook pages as well as in our Discord under the merchandise tab. So if you guys want to help with that and wear those to National.
It's also linked in the show description for across all the listening platforms as well.
For you coffee drinkers, I heard there's a nice tumbler up there too.
Yes, and somebody else just ordered one too, by the way, Josh.
Sweet.
So, all right, let's wind it down.
All right. I'm going to say, Josh, your final comments for tonight.
It's been a week. This week coming up, it shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully the storms will settle down some. Again, prayers to anyone that's affected out in the Midwest. If you get overwhelmed, take a step back, take a deep breath, and step back in. Have a good week. James?
One of our listeners posted this in the live stage. So if you guys want to see what's said in the live stage, join our Discord. We do the live recordings of these episodes. But they said, I hate the quote, management has the right to manage and mismanage. I always say management has the right to manage and mismanage at the carrier expense, because no matter what, the carrier is the one suffering time and money. And there is no truer statement than that. And we're going to have management that mismanages, management that doesn't know the contract, management that doesn't understand the rules and things like that. But as carriers and as passionate members of this craft, we need to fight that. We need to get this management fixed and working in a positive way for the post office, because they're costing the post office money. And I understand the post office sets aside a certain budget for how much they're going to pay out in grievances. It's a given that they're going to get grievances. They know they're going to get grievances, but they continue to perpetrate the violations of the contract. So stand up for your craft. And as Bill says, get home to your loved ones, because you're the most important delivery of the day. You are our brothers and sisters of the craft. And you matter to each and every one of us, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Kristen, your final thoughts?
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Josh, for coming back on with us this evening in the lieu of Bill's absence. I do appreciate it. Guys, we're trying. We want to see things better. And that's why several of us have decided to step up and run again. And in some instances, run for the first time. And, we listen to you. We hear you. I mean, there's really not much we can do in our positions currently. But we are hearing you. And we are here for you. Like I said, even if it's that shoulder to vent on or that ear to listen to, we're here for you. And we'll always be here for you. No matter what the outcome comes at National, we'll always be here for you. That's just how we are. I had somebody ask me the other day what would happen if only one of us in the office, if only one of us got elected to National Board. And I said, you know what? I said, that would be fine. I said, because we'd still be there to support that person. No matter what, no matter which one it was, we'd be supporting them. And if none of us get voted in, it's okay. We're not going to give up. We're still going to try. We're still going to put forth our resolutions. We're still going to be a voice for everybody. We're still going to be an ear and a shoulder for everybody. It's, I know change can take time. And I know I won't ever give up. At this point, I'm not ready to give up. I still have a very long career ahead of me, as James, as well. We're not going to give up on anybody or the craft ever. At this point, it's we're here for the long haul. Whether it just end up being this platform or just an ear to listen to, we're going to do what we can for you in whatever position that we're in. So guys, just take care. Have a safe week. Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody that were in that devastating weather this weekend. And it's that time of year where you just never know what's going to happen. Stay safe, everybody. And we will be back next week.
Glad that they didn't have a shameless plug of our pre-show that happened. Shameless plug can go in either end.
Hey now,
They-
what's you on your
they
time
even-
is on you.